Hey, tell us a little bit about this COVID subsidy, this rental subsidy that was just passed recently from the House of Representatives.
Yeah, absolutely, Michael. So it's complicated. There's a lot of things moving, but really it's a play in three acts. So in March of 2020, when COVID first went down, we got the $1.9 trillion stimulus act. And then in December, right after the election, we got a $900 billion stimulus. And right now in the House of Representatives, we've already passed another $1.9 trillion stimulus. So it's those three things.
Right. Okay, but that's a lot, right? That's like, what is that, 5 trillion in 1 year?
That's exactly right. And I remember the quote from Senator Dirksen who said, a billion here, a billion there, and pretty soon you're talking about real money. And right now, it's not a billion and a billion, it's a trillion here, it's a trillion there. It's a phenomenal amount of money.
All right. So how is this helping our tenants?
Of the two bills that have become law, only the December 2021 had direct rent support. In that one, there was $25 billion to support tenants who owe their landlords money. That helps us. But of course, it takes a long time for that money to move through the system effectively. And only in the past week, that is 3 months after it was passed and made into law, is that money finally getting pushed into tenants' hands.
Okay, so how do tenants get the money, and then how much do they actually get?
Yeah, great question, Michael. And that's really where the rubber meets the road. Each state gets allocated money based upon their population size and how much rent money is in their state. And then it's up to those states to distribute the money. And they have to follow certain federal guidelines. So, for instance, the tenants can't make more than 80% of the average income in the area. And they have to prove that they've been impacted in some way by COVID. And if that's the case, then they can get up to 3 months of rent paid for by this $25 billion in rent stimulus.
Okay, so it's $25 billion in rent stimulus, which is a lot of money. But is that going to be enough to address the backlog of unpaid rents?
Yeah, Michael, no one knows for sure. But some of the reports that I've read say that no, it's not enough. And that's why we're seeing that in this most recent bill that's in Congress right now, there's another $20 billion in rental assistance coming from Congress. And there's some good data out there that says that the number of tenants in America who are delinquent or past due on their rent is 17% of all tenants. And that's a tripling from where we were about a year ago.
Okay, so we're not seeing that in our portfolio, but what are we seeing in our portfolio, and why? Maybe are we seeing something different than maybe the national average?
Sure. Yeah. No, we're not seeing that 3x delinquency. We are seeing some delinquency growth, just like every other landlord in America during a recession, but it's not 3x. And I think the reason why is because we're doing a better average than most at maintaining the line and good discipline on tenant screening. So we have baseline metrics that we follow, and we don't compromise on those, even when it's tempting to do so.
So, Drew, how challenging is it to get at this money?
Yeah, Michael, it's very challenging. This is the federal bureaucracy we're working with.
Right.
So of course, it is complicated. It's a 19-page application not per property, but per tenant that you need to do it on. Second of all, you need to get the tenants to sign the paperwork. And you would think that's easy, but it's actually surprisingly hard to get the tenants to sign up for free money. Now, at Nighthawk, we have our property managers, or we have had them, filling up all of the information that we can on behalf of the tenants so that it's as easy as possible to complete the application, but it's still a ton of work. And we've been diligently following this legislation and how it works on a state-by-state basis, because every state is different on when they release the money, ever since it was passed. Every week we talk to our property managers and get an update on what's happening, when the money becomes available, and how much our tenants might qualify for.
Well, it sounds like the environment is pretty tough, and we're doing okay in this environment. But what is the key takeaway for both active investors as well as passive investors?
Yeah, the bottom line is that it takes tenacity and attention to detail to win in this business. It takes focus. Things are constantly changing, and if you're not staying on top of things, whether it's how lenders are lending or how you get stimulus money, you're going to lose out. So either make sure that you have the time and energy and desire to stay on top of the business, or invest passively with someone who is doing that.